with Curtis on his time. Breaking down the stories, every view will unwind. From left to right, we'll see the light. It's balance, we're chasing, no fighters fight. Curtis Selby, talking it straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis Selby's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby, keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Selby, the combos you need. The combos you need. Insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby, keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Selby, the convo's unique. Curtis Selby, talking it straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis Selby's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby, keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Selby, the combos you need. The combos you need. The combos you need.
Is I, Curtis Selby, your retired midnight blogger. What blogs in this case at 5:35 p.m. Probably none of you will get it, but there's a reason why I've got Savage Tired Blogger on as my moniker, whatever you call it, avatar. If any of you gets it, I don't know. I'll give you something like bump on the head. I have no idea. Let's go ahead and say hello to the chat, and then we will begin with the topic. I've talked a little bit about it before, but Britain, has she fallen? Or is there still hope? We also have a poll up right now. It looks like 60% of you believe that the British protests against immigration are not racist. 20% of you say, hell no, the British protests against immigration are not racist. And 20% of you say, yes, British protests against immigration are indeed racist. So, I'm just curious how that poll will change as the stream proceeds. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat. And then I want to do something a little bit different and then dive into the topic. Also want to point out, Gorilla Sensor Thoughts is having a stream. I can't remember what the time is because I'm a big jerk. But tonight he's going to be doing a live stream if the tornadoes don't get him. On the Canadian election, I know we are all lifting up Canada in our prayers. To me, this election is the most important of my lifetime, other than the one we just had here in the United States. And to Canadians, it's even more important than that one was. So, Connie Cleary, hey old chat, welcome, glad to see you here. D. Penzek, howdy, I'm glad to see you here, hope you are doing well. Accounting sheet, ahoy! Hail and well met. I hope you are doing well, and I hope that you either learned something or hopefully are at least mildly entertained by the stuff I'm going to be presenting. Jeff B is saying hello to everybody. Hello back to the good sir. One of the people who's been here almost since day one. I've been doing a little bit of editing and playing around with old videos in the likely foolish hope of getting monetized. And you've been there for a long time. You've been very supportive, so I certainly appreciate you. Let's do something a little bit different. I'm not a saint, and I'm not meaning to be theatrical here. I apologize if it looks like I am. I wanted to start this one with a prayer. I am not Catholic. I only bring this up because I'm going to do something that as a Protestant, I almost never do. I'm going to say one of the prayers to the saints. I hope that's not controversial. I do know people that get really upset in the Protestant circles about praying to saints. I don't want to get into the controversy of it. I'm doing this in the hope that if this is wrong, that God will forgive me for it, and if it is right, that he'll accept it. And frankly, I think that all prayers, ultimately they go to God anyway. If it is a good thing that we pray to saints, their prayers go to God. So in the end, they all do. They go to the same place. In this context, anyway. Probably this is bad theology. But again, I'm going to do it because I just feel like I feel like I'm supposed to do it this way. So I want to pray the prayer of St. George. He was born in Palestine. At 14 years old, his father died. A few years later, his mother. St. George followed in his father's footsteps, became a soldier. However, when all soldiers were ordered to worship and offer sacrifice to Roman gods, St. George loudly objected. Proudly proclaiming his Christian faith, he was tortured and executed by decapitation. He is the patron saint of numerous countries. I hope I am correct. I believe that this is Britain's patron saint. His feast today is April the 23rd, so just a few days ago. Interesting. I want to say hello before I get into the prayer to Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips. Thank you for being here, and I hope that you enjoy the show. Again, I feel a little weird, but I'm going to do it because I feel like I'm supposed to. Almighty God, this is the prayer of St. George. I bow before you, seeking your help and mercy. Illuminate the darkness of my mind with a ray of heavenly light, and inflame my heart with the fire of your divine love, so that I may contemplate the great virtues and merits of St. George, in whose honor I make this novena, and following his example, imitate like him the life of your divine Son. Eternal God, I beseech you to graciously grant through the merits and intercession of St. George this petition which I humbly place before you. At this point, we would share a request. My request at this point is that God's will be done in the election in Canada, and that my stream would help people to come closer to the truth one way or another. Almighty Father, may thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. O God, who granted to St. George the strength to sustain the torments he received for our holy faith, I beseech you to prevent my faith from wavering, so that I may also faithfully serve you with a sincere heart unto death. I ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. St. George, a faithful servant of God, an invincible martyr, you were favored by God with the gift of faith and inflamed with an ardent love of Christ. You fought valiantly against pride, falsehood, and deceit. Neither pain nor torment, sword nor death could part you from the love of Christ. I fervently implore you to help me by your intercession to bear bravely the trials and temptations that oppress me, so that I may patiently carry the cross which is placed upon me. Let neither distress nor difficulty separate me from the love of our Lord Jesus Christ. Valiant champion of our faith, assist me in the fight against all evil. Saint George, pray for us. There it is, prayer of Saint George. Hope I'm not mistaken, but I believe the patron saint of Britain. John Ponterero, hail and well met. Yet another incredible supporter here. Thank you so much for being here. You know, you are always welcome, and I'm always glad to see you. So let's begin with the topic at hand. I'm going to segue a little bit, though, because after I had decided to do this topic, after you guys had voted to have this be the topic, and I know you're probably thinking, well, actually, we voted for the sexes. Well, I forgot that I had a previous poll, and I hadn't done this topic yet. So the topic today is Britain, and the topic in the next stream will be the Battle of the Sexes. So there it is. Some things have happened that have I don't know that they've altered the dynamic, but they give me hope, which it may be a false hope. I know some very intelligent friends of mine who think that it is a false hope, but some things are going on, not in Britain itself, but in Ireland. There's not very great coverage of it, but there is at least some. This was about the best of the mainstream-ish coverage that I could find. Sorry if this offends you. This is Fox News. I try hard not to use Fox News because I know that nearly 50% of people will just discount it out of hand. But I felt like this was maybe some of the most centrist coverage that I found anyway. Here's why Ireland is at the boiling point over mass immigration. And here, I won't keep it on here for long because YouTube will get all upset with it. But here's footage of the protests. Here's the riot police. Stuff's going on that doesn't really look great or cool. Police clash with anti-mass immigration protesters in an Irish town. The Irish government's unwavering commitment to housing and feeding an unprecedented influx of migrants in the wake of a severe housing and cost of living crisis has brought the Irish electorate to a boiling point. It has many similarities to the migrant crisis in the United States. Hundreds of protests in towns have sprung up around the country with people calling on the government to end what they say is an open borders globalist agenda that is putting the needs of migrants ahead of its citizens, many of whom are struggling to pay for everyday items and unable to buy or rent homes as Ireland's homeless numbers skyrockets. Several high-profile crimes linked to migrants have also driven fear into the native citizenry, culminating in the shocking knife attacks on young children and their teacher by an Algerian-born Irish citizen in November that triggered rioting and looting in the nation's capital. And, you know, I'm never a fan of rioting and looting, no matter what the cause. Here's a link to the story there. 34 were arrested in Ireland riots after the child was stabbed in Dublin. There's pictures from that event. Those who want immigration laws enforced and numbers reduced say they are being ignored by the political establishment. Let me know in the chat if you think that that's true. Ireland is a tinderbox at the moment, Irish journalist Fatima Gunning told Fox News Digital. At this point, I don't think anything would surprise me. On Monday, thousands of protesters carrying Irish flags rallied in Dublin, calling for an end to mass migration and demanding that a new nationalist government take its place. Chants of "get them out" in reference to the government. I'm sure there's a double meaning there too, but let's just take it at face value. Or at least I'm going to. You don't have to. Echoed throughout the nation's capital, while others carried signs reading "Irish Lives Matter" and "Under Siege, Invasion." Large banners reading "Mass Deportations" and "End the Plantation" hung from a bridge. The protesters say they represent the silent majority of the electorate, around 75%, based on several polls, who say immigration is too high and that the country has taken in too many refugees. Their anger is also being fueled by how they are being treated by the mainstream media, which is dominated by liberal news outlets, as well as the semi-state-run broadcaster RTE, who seldom cover protests or do so with bias, they say. Now, of course, this is Fox, so they are going to say this. Take that in mind. Think of an America without Fox News. I would say think of an America without the small media on the internet, because, well, at least across the border, you can be arrested for protesting your government. For example, last Monday's march was described as a large crowd by RTE and afforded just 6 lines of coverage on its website. Gripped, a relative newcomer to the media scene, has been filling the void and has covered many anti-mass immigration protests. For the past 2 years, they've been calling people like that racist or far-right extremists, Gunning says. I know personally. I have very close friends, very intelligent friends who have said the exact same thing. These are racists. Politicians in the mainstream media, official Ireland, that of strata of society, say immigration is just totally positive. There's no negatives whatsoever. And then anyone who even says something like, "Oh, I do agree with immigration," which, hey, this is actually going to be the statement of my belief, not that you need it, but I do agree with immigration, but I think there should be controls on the numbers. Those people are racist. That's how it is. Here we have a photo: tents housing asylum seekers near the Office of International Protection in Dublin on April the 29th last year. The tent city has been dismantled, though many migrants set up more tents nearby. I am still sympathetic to the Irish, but I'm also going to say that it actually looks like a paradise compared to a lot of the images that we get from California. Immigration into Ireland has more than doubled over the last 20 years, with 22% of the population now made up of non-citizens. Let that sink in. Just please, even if you think this is racist, think about the implications. It would be like 60 million immigrants in the United States. Think what that would do to your economy, to your culture. Now, we want to feel for the immigrants? Yes, of course. We want to find some kind of a solution for them, but would you want that here? Ireland has the 4th largest non-national population of all of the 27 EU member states, percentage-wise, according to published EU statistics. The steady increase in immigration first started with the Free Movement of People Agreement under the EU's NICE Treaty. Remember, those of you who've read your C.S. Lewis, the National Institute of Coordinated Experiments, the EU's NICE Treaty in 2003. It posed little problems as mainly Eastern Europeans traveled to Ireland to work in the Celtic Tiger economic boom era. But in recent years, droves of high numbers of asylum seekers have been arriving at Ireland's shores, and are being handed all sorts of taxpayer-funded welfare benefits and housing, while Irish citizens struggle to make ends meet with high inflation, a crippling housing crisis, and an overwhelmed health system. There's a video here of the protest, riot, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to play it because YouTube will ding me for it, but there's an image at any rate of it. For instance, Ireland has taken in more than 104,000 Ukrainian refugees since the onset of the war, the largest number per capita in Western Europe. Despite Ireland being the most westerly located nation in the whole of Europe. The figure equates to 2% of Ireland's 5.12 million population. See, that's the deal. They're a tiny country. They can't really support a lot of immigrants because they have just a few people. Every Ukrainian refugee has been provided with free accommodation, free health care, and until recently was being paid a weekly wage of around $235. Another 30,000 non-Ukrainian refugees are currently being housed by the Irish government, with taxpayers churning out more than £1 billion in the first 9 months of 2023, accommodating migrants, or actually, I think that's the euro, sorry, €1 billion. In the first 9 months of 2023, accommodating migrants, according to government data. Meanwhile, the country's debt is among the highest in the world per capita, standing at 223 billion euros for a population of 5.12 million. Think about that in 2023. Accommodations, including modular homes, have been built for migrants, but very little, if anything, they say, is being done for the homeless population. And when they say that, we're talking about the homeless citizens. Screw them. They don't matter. Which hit an all-time record last month. Planning rules to build some of those homes have been ignored in order to get the refugees housed at rapid speed. There's a really palpable feeling that these non-national people are being prioritized over Irish people, which they are, Gunning says. I mean, it's not even a matter of opinion that they are. There are Irish people who cannot get medical cards. Remember, this is Europe. This isn't the United States. Citizens can't get medical cards, can't get health benefits for whatever reason. These people are all given medical cards regardless of need, and that's obviously a priority of the government. It's not just the perceived unfairness that has angered Irish people. Just like in the U.S., Irish people feel that many of those seeking asylum have dubious claims and are essentially economic migrants who are draining taxpayer coffers. Dublin sees heavy police presence, 11 arrests amid Irish Lives Matter march against mass migration. That's the headline, and there's a link there, but I'll keep reading here. In terms of those making asylum seekers claims in Ireland, Georgian nationals, not our state of Georgia, but Russia, Georgian, have had the highest numbers of claims despite it being designated a safe country of origin by the Irish government. Let's face it, Georgia is not at war. It's Ukraine. Unless there's something I missed, please let me know if I've forgotten a war. There's so many of them anymore. Asylum seekers have also been arriving from Nigeria, where 2,000 have arrived already this year, as well as Algeria, Somalia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Zimbabwe. Countries that don't share customs or traditions with Ireland. Well, that's racist. Maybe, but it's also a fact and something that has to be dealt with when the United States can absorb a lot. We can take a lot of diversity. We're a big country. We're a rich country. We have 300 million people. This is Ireland. It's a tiny island with 5 million people. They have to deal with it. They can't just send them off to another state. There is no other state. Serious concerns have also been raised about a large percentage of those asylum seekers being single men. that background checks have not been carried out on them. They're loitering around towns and cities with nothing to do. Some people get very upset when they hear it's just men because there's leaking footage from City West Hotel in Dublin of them just rioting inside the place. And, last year it kicked off around Ramadan. They were just rioting and throwing chairs at each other, Gunning says. Well, maybe that's not true. I don't know. But if it is, I can understand being upset. People feel frightened about that because ultimately these people are unvetted. You'll hear that they're vetted. They're not. Their fingerprints are run through this thing called Eurodac, which is not a criminal vetting system. It's just to see if they have made other asylum claims elsewhere or if they've been caught doing illegal border crossings. It doesn't have any criminal data in it at all. So the government consistently uses that to say they've been vetted when in fact they're not. Gunning, who reports for gript.ie, I'm sure there will be some website somewhere saying this is a big racist site, and maybe it is, was at the scene of an ugly encounter 2 weeks ago when Irish police in riot gear clashed with locals of a small town. We saw a little bit of that video up above, who were protesting against plans to convert a shuttered care facility into a shelter for 160 male migrants. The town, Newton-mon-Kennedy, is a typical rural community with a population of about 3,000 people. It's starved of services, so 3,160. I don't have my calculator nearby, but we're talking 5% roughly of the population. I mean, Gunning says locals told her that the government promised them that the facility would be used as a much-needed community center for the town, while they were also concerned that the men are unvetted. Gunning says locals were also incensed that foreign men in masks were seen working on the site, leading to comparisons to the plantations of Ireland in the 1500s and 1600s, because we have no need to be sensitive to Irish cultural sensitivities. Doesn't matter that it's their country. We have no need to be sensitive to them. When the British confiscated Irish-owned land and gave it to settlers. Hence the End the Plantation banner at the protest in Dublin on Monday. Yeah, they're not talking about American plantations. They're talking about Irish plantations when Britain was not very nice to Ireland. After weeks of peacefully protesting and pleading with the government to reconsider, the riot police were deployed in Newtown-Mount-Kennedy to stamp out the demonstration, but the forcefulness of the response sent shockwaves through the community, which rallied in even bigger numbers in the days that followed. In the end, it was all in vain, as the first wave of migrants began arriving at the site around the same time as a migrant tent city of about 200 tents in nearby Dublin were being dismantled by the government. The tents were set up outside the country's International Protections Office. We saw that photo, which processes claims, and for many Irish people, the tents became a visual example of the government's handling of the crisis. Many of the migrants have now set up their tents along Dublin's Grand Canal. The situation at Newtown-Mount-Kennedy has been happening throughout Ireland, and the locals, despite their protests, say they have no say in the matter. In some towns, locals' hotels have been converted into migrant shelters, decimating tourist industries. Now, it has always been one of my biggest bucket list dreams to go to Ireland. This year, I nearly took that off of the list because I know I don't want to deal with this kind of stuff. And I know I'm making it personal. Maybe that's unfair. Maybe I'm pandering. But why would I want to go there? I want to go there to see Irish castles. I want to go there to see Irish people. I want to go there to see the bogs and the greenery. I don't want to go there to see tents. And, if I want to go to those other countries, I mean no disrespect, but I will go to those other countries. Meanwhile, just like in the US, some hoteliers and construction companies are profiting. Imagine that. As government contracts ensure full occupancy and a steady stream of building work keeps the revenue flowing. It's just emerged that there was a whole estate being built without planning permission. Now they've filled that with international protection applicants, Gunning says. So it's really crazy. There's a lot of money being made here, an awful lot of money. As the cries grow louder and the government refuses to change course, anger among demonstrators has exploded. Some have protested outside the homes of the new Prime Minister, Richard Harris, and Immigration Minister Roderick O'Gorman. At least they have Irish names. The latter has been accused of making Ireland a popular magnet for migrants after he posted online a notice in 8 different languages detailing the attractive benefits they will get if they claim asylum in Ireland. Sound like anybody else, you know? Members of Irish Justice Minister Helen McEntee's family were evacuated from their home last week following 2 hoax bomb threats. Now, while I'm upset with these people, bomb threats are not cool. That's not the way to deal with this. I just talked yesterday about the Oklahoma City bombing. We don't need that kind of crap. McEntee has faced tremendous pressure for her handling of the crisis, due in part to the country's low deportation numbers. For instance, McEntee recently revealed that of the nearly 7,300 people refused refugee status in Ireland since the beginning of 2023, less than 100 have been deported, meaning 7,200 of them are still there. They're not supposed to be, but they're still there. She also said that more than 90% of the people seeking asylum in the country are now crossing the land border with Northern Ireland amid the UK's clampdown on ineligible refugees via its Rwanda policy. So I did not know that. I thought that the UK was in a similar boat. But anyway, for instance, who are these people flowing into the country? Where are these people now, critics ask. According to the government's figures, 85% of the people who applied for international protection at the Dublin airport in 2023 arrived without identity documents or with false identity documents, which is illegal. Yet very few were even prosecuted. But the Irish government has long argued that it is bound by international obligations to accommodate those who arrive claiming asylum, while critics say the same level of urgency is not given to Irish people who are homeless. The European Union's new migration pact is being held up as a silver bullet solution, a game changer, according to McEntee, but some critics say it will only exacerbate the situation. The pact aims to cut the time for security and asylum procedures at external EU borders and increase the number of people being sent back to the Middle East and Africa. We always do the right thing in Ireland. And for me, the right thing is providing protection for those who genuinely need it, McEntee said recently. The world is a changing place. There's significant increases in conflict across the globe that profits the people that support you. Sorry. Climate change is having a massive impact. We may talk about that later. And pointless partisan things that I found in Twitter. There are people who genuinely flee starvation, persecution, and war. And that's actually a legit thing. We can't just poo-poo that. I'm not saying I've got an easy solution, but one side's not being represented. And you know me, I like to represent the side that's not being represented. I think as a country, particularly people who have sought refuge in other countries over the years, there is an onus on us, and people want us to provide that protection. At the same time, those who are coming here seeking economic benefits, we don't blame them for that. This is just not the right system to use. And here's an Irishman with a sign that says, economic migrants are not refugees. Much of the despair and disillusionment of those on the right who oppose mass immigration is that they are not represented in the political process. Fingal, McEntie's party, is part of a coalition government in office since 2020 with Fianna Fáil and the Green Party. Fionn Gael and Fianna Fáil would once have been viewed as center-right, but have shifted left and embraced progressivism and globalism. Well, of course they have. Ireland's main opposition party to the government, Sinn Féin, has been in lockstep with the establishment throughout the country, throughout the crisis, creating a void for a populist nationalist movement. Well, you know, those nationalists, we got to get rid of them. We hate them. They're bad people. Nationalist was part of the Zanies movement. They're bad. The result has been an explosion in novice candidates running for office in next month's local and EU elections, representing newly formed right-wing parties. It is, of course, unclear what kind of impact they can make. However, thrown into the mix is the fact that refugees and asylum seekers in Ireland are able to vote in local elections. Imagine that. An Irish migrant group bragged on Twitter Thursday it had registered 1,500 asylum seekers to vote, all of whom the group said promised to vote for the government coalition partner, the Green Party. These elections take place on June the 7th. All right, let's look at the chat, see what you guys think. Boop, 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 boop. All righty. Man, you guys have been hopping while I've been reading. We have people saying amen to the prayer. Thank you. Very kind. Very kind. Ahoy, at Accounting Sheep. Yeah, you're right, Accounting Sheep. I agree with that. Black Irish lives matter. All lives matter, unless you're Cthulhu, in which case no lives matter. D. Penzak, I was waiting for the word invasion in what you're reading. Well, that's one of the reasons why I picked, like probably most of the controversial things that you heard me say were my take on it. The reading I felt was not, I feel was not very controversial. Maybe that's because I've slid too far to the right. Maybe my left-wing friends, if they're listening, are like, Curtis, you big doodlehead, pandering butthead. I don't know. But I felt like that was a very centrist article. Jeff B., I'm a mutt, quarter Irish. I like bagpipe music. Me too. I don't know the exact percentages, but I'm a mix of Irish, Scottish, English, Dutch, and German. So, and hello there, Sci-Fi Sithadan. Hail and well met. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for being here. Hope you learn a little bit. Hope maybe some of it's entertaining. And I woo to Charlotte Nightstar the Werewolf, and she's Batgirl. Welcome, welcome. I hope you are doing well and that all things are spiffy, cool in your neck of the woods. Let's see. Charlotte Nightstar sees a cloudy sheep somewhere, and I think he's still here. Yep, there he is, saying hi to the wolfie. And John Ponterero, God bless you, sir. Let me know that you're on Rumble. Something's up with Rumble. I don't know what it is. But I'm glad that it's working. I don't know why it's not here. Maybe if I do this. I'll bet maybe this will. What? I could end it, but I don't want to end it. I want to see it. Maybe this is what I need to do. I don't know. It is what it is. Hopefully, as long as somebody can see it, then success is great. Aha. There's the sheep. Hello. Jeff B., Ireland's no longer the quiet man. Yeah, I think they've had enough. And look, again, it is not exactly, if you want to say that we're all racist for being upset about the migration issues, I think you're wrong, but I'm more willing to listen to you. The Irish are a tiny, tiny nation. 1,500... Let's see, they've got 5 million people. We've got 300 million people. So making the math very overly simplistic, we've got 20 times as many people. The accounting sheet can get a more accurate number, but so 1,500, that's the same as, let me think, 30,000 people? That's a crap ton of people. Like 30,000 people, my little town would be a drop in the bucket. We would just be done. There would be no more Tonkawa. It would just be whatever these migrants decide they're going to do. And especially if it was just a bunch of young single men, mostly, if it was half, like half women, half men, or if there were a bunch of children, this wouldn't bug me so much. The whole thing that it's a bunch of single men, no, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Sci-Fi Citizen is saying that Charlotte, the White Night Star, the werewolf, may eat you, accounting sheep. And is that why she's staring at me and licking her lips? I would suggest possibly so. Accounting sheep, yes, and doing a song of how to eat and cook you for a nice, tasty meal. Ooh, scary. Okay, so compare this. Whether you believe it or not, maybe it is Fox News, and like I say, I know that probably most of you in the chat are okay with it, but I have friends that they say that we look more at Fox than we do at CNN, but I've learned that you do only because you're trying to refute what they're saying. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And it's fine if you want to refute what's being said there. But one of the things that was said in that article was that nobody is really sharing any news about it. And if you don't believe that article, let's take a look at BBC News. Well, I don't see the protest at the top of the page. Now, this is actually good. I think that the Canadian vote should be at least pretty close to the top of the page. The Trump effect, others watching for Canada votes. 3 U.S. citizen children, one with cancer, deported to Honduras. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, says their mothers had made the choice for their citizen children to be removed with them. I did hear a little bit about that. I'm not going to comment about it here. Is it a shame that citizen children were deported? Yes, but if you look into the circumstances, it's not as cut and dried as it looks. A girl, 5 among Vancouver dead as suspect charged. Child damages a 50 million euro Rothko painting. Rosenberg, what's Putin trying to achieve? Spain declares a state of emergency. I know there's some big power outages in Europe, so that deserves to be on the front page. The rapid remaking of the United States in 100 days. The conclave. Ultra-processed foods may be linked to early death. Dozens of African migrants killed in a U.S. strike on Yemen. 1 dead, 12 injured. Hit and run boat crash in Florida. Mount Fuji climber rescued twice after being back. No, I see no mention of the protests. Nothing at all. How Spain and Portugal's massive power cut unfolded. Israel spy chief. Myanmar's army is bigger news than the Irish protest. It's a country right across from your frickin' border. But Myanmar, they're more important to Britain. We got something here. How Liverpool's title win has completed a mysterious Fibonacci sequence. Sorrow and fury among Vancouver's Filipinos after an attack on the festival. I have no idea why the Irish would feel like they were not being heard. Completely stunning. The Irish are just a bunch of racists. They're just a bunch of jerks. They deserve to be ignored. And anyway, it's not true. It's not happening, even though it's nowhere on this page. So again, Are the protests legit, or is it just a bunch of racists? While we're at it, let's take a look at that poll. 56% of you, and of course this is vastly scientific, say that no, the British protests are not racist. 22% of you say that yes, it is, and 22% of you say hell no, it's not racist. Accounting sheep. Speaking of eating people, I guess they could always go all modest proposal on their immigration problem. Pretty sure that was written by an Irishman. Hail to the yes, it was. I can't do a good Irish accent, but old, what's his name? Johnny Smith. I can't remember. What is his name? I'm having a senior moment. Anyway, great writer. Loved Gulliver's Travels. Loved The Modest Proposal. Guy was brilliant, and yet I can't remember his name because I'm a big dodo head. Jeff B. Holman said the American citizen kids are welcome to come back. Well, of course they are. They're citizens. So anyway, counting sheep. Of course, the thing about the Irish is, even if they're being heard, they can't be understood. That's all the whiskey. But I was talking about Britain, right? So I got kind of sidetracked here. It's the neighbors, so that's not really what's important anyway. Those 5 million Irish, they're inconsequential. It's all those millions upon millions of Brits. They're what matter. So let's see if we can hear a little bit about what's going on in Britain. Since I couldn't find any British reporting on this, I will instead take as my source, not myself, sorry, that's not what I meant to share. This is Winston Marshall. I went on Bill Maher and this happened. I'm going to skip ahead a bit. I hope I've got the right part. I think this is it. I should have taken more time to look up the actual clip. Bill Maher and Winston Marshall, they did a really good talk about, both of them have been canceled. If you guys want me to, I can show you that part. But since it's not on topic, I'm trying to skip to the part where they talk about what's going on in Britain, and we're not being told anything about in the mainstream news.
Right, and at least five or six of them have been brutally murdered.
Okay, let's back.
And it's also affected Hindu, and over the last.
Okay.
Have them removed from the list of prescribed organizations.
Regarding Sharia. Come on.
Every week now in Britain, there is at least one major Islamism story. Last week, lawyers filed a legal case challenging the designation of Hamas as a terrorist organization in the UK.
We are instructed by Hamas. We are today at the Home Office, and we are going to hand in an application under Section 4 of the Terrorism Act to have them removed from the list of prescribed organizations.
Regarding Sharia law, Britain has become the Western...
Okay, so he was kind of unclear there, so I don't want to... I've made mistakes before taking too much of Winston Marshall's stuff on faith, but at the very least, we can see that there's a movement to remove Hamas from the list of terrorists in Britain. Now, I know Zionism's a thing. I know it's an issue, but do any of you think that Hamas should be removed from any list of terrorists? Please let me know in the chat if you do. All right. Here's an article he's citing from GBN. I don't know who they are. Britain becomes Western capital for Sharia law courts as 85 open throughout the United Kingdom. Is it racist to point that out? Is it racist to think that that's concerning? Let me know what you think.
Capital for Sharia law, as we now have 85 courts. Bill also wanted to understand the Pakistani rape gang scandal.
But your country...
Okay. How many of you How many of you, this is the first time you're even hearing about it? I doubt if many of you in the chat have not heard about it, but if you're new to the channel, or if you're one of my liberal friends and you're hiding in the background because you don't want all of my conservative friends to destroy you, I get it. But please, I would love to know, is this the first you're hearing about this? I've heard about this for a fair amount of time. I haven't talked about it because I was trying really hard to play nice with YouTube and play by their rules. But if I'm not going to be monetized anyway, I might as well talk about it. So here it is.
3/4 of British Muslims do not believe that Hamas committed murder or rape on October 7th. The majority of British Muslims think Jews have too much power.
So does my agent.
A third of British Muslims want Sharia law. And so the real
Sharia law, that's a problem.
That's a problem. And so we've got a real problem with this, these two groups mixing.
This is the difference between your country and mine. In my country, Muslims have assimilated well. You know, I don't think a third of American Muslims want Sharia law. They may have heard the word and maybe don't even know, and they would just reflexively, because this is the kind of bullshit I get for speaking honestly about this issue.
Okay, let's skip ahead a bit. I'd accidentally backed up, but I'm kind of glad that I did, because those were stats that they kind of pertain to why there's an issue. If you do have millions of immigrants, and Britain can do a lot better job of handling those immigrants than Ireland can, is it a problem if 30% of those immigrants, or maybe they're not millions, maybe they're just hundreds of thousands, but if 30% of them actually think that the Hamas attack was faked, and I have friends who think that, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but a handful of friends, that's one thing. Hundreds of, tens of thousands of people, that's totally different order of stuff. And also, what is the percentage of that, those tens of thousands that are doing violent things? I would suggest that possibly there's a correlation. Not saying that all Muslims are doing horrible things. In fact, probably much less than 20%, but I would bet that a large percentage of that small percentage are among that 30% who think that the Hamas thing was a big fakery.
Regarding Sharia law, Britain has become the Western capital for Sharia.
Indian
skip ahead.
guys, and they would, and this is like in the Midlands, the middle of
It's
England.
actually up and down the country. So it's
The raping of children.
Have them removed from the list of prescribed.
Yeah, the not consensual sex gangs.
My country just does not deal with. I mean, the one about the raping of children. I mean, like gangs who preyed on young girls, girls always from like unfortunate homes where they needed a role model, they needed a father, they needed money.
Oh my gosh, Bill Maher has become a right-wing wacko. This is all a bunch of crap. We know all of this is untrue because CNN said this is a lie. Bill Maher, I'm shocked and ashamed of you. Does anybody remember Star Trek? Does anybody remember Tasha Yar? Does anyone remember the story of Tasha Yar? We watched that show and we thought, oh my gosh, she's a survivor of this terrible thing. She's so brave. She's so strong. But then when it happens in real life, we don't sympathize. We shut the TV off. We censor. We say, oh, that's lies. That's not happening. Shame on us.
And these were all like Pakistani or Indian guys, and this is like in the Midlands, the middle of
It's
England.
actually up and down the country. So it's over 50 cities, all the way from Edinburgh down to the southern part of England, to Oxford, and a lot of it in Manchester area and Birmingham area. And over the last few decades, tens of thousands of girls have been brutally treated by what are majority Pakistani heritage rape gangs.
Okay, and again, I've been burnt by his statistics being wrong. I haven't looked these up. But even when I was wrong, I found that his statistic was about off by, I want to say, a factor of 10. So even if it's just 1,000, don't you think? Am I the one that's full of crap? Don't you think that it's a big freaking deal if there is a group of people, and yeah, maybe they have a bad, lot handed to them, but if they are raping 1,000 girls, that should be a story. That should be something you're hearing about. That should be something we are able to talk about and that we are talking about. And we should be finding solutions and not just, here's the trouble. When we don't talk about it, that's when the violence becomes the only option. Because we're not able to talk about it. You and I can't have a talk about, well, is there any way we can vet these people? Is there any way that we can, do something about the criminals that are in that group? Is there something that doesn't involve, hey, let's kick the whole dang group out of our country? But if you're going to leave no options, the most extreme of the other side is the only one that's going to do anything about it. And guess what? Their solution is going to be, in a nice YouTube-friendly parlance, kicking that group out. Well, they don't have enough power. Maybe they don't. But maybe they're gaining more because more and more people are actually hearing, in spite of us being silenced.
The girls are, most of them are, I wouldn't even say working class white girls, underclass, in the way they're treated by society.
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable. And
all we ever hear, we've got to protect the most vulnerable people in society. I agree. But which group is more vulnerable? Thousands of Muslim males? Or 1,000? Who knows what they are? Who knows if they're Christian? Who knows if they're heathen? Who cares? But 1,000 British, and let me stress, I'm not saying white. There's plenty of British who are blacks. Go watch frickin' Doctor Who. The race isn't what matters. Even the fact that they're British isn't what matters. They're vulnerable girls who are having terrible things done to them, and we evidently don't give a crap. Well, actually, we do. We're just not allowed to hear it because of people who don't give a crap.
White girls, and a lot of them treated this way, and because they're kafir, because they're not Muslim. And it's also affected Hindu communities as well. And it's playing out even yesterday.
Now, let's be fair. Everybody knows this is just almost every culture. This is not to excuse it on any side, but I do want to point out, if you talk about Christians that go to war in those other countries, there's a lot of that goes on the other way too. So I'm not trying to claim that, Western civilization, we're all perfectly good and we're spotless and sinless and it's just these terrible, because again, oversimplifying isn't going to help. But at the same time, somebody, I believe it was Clue Studio, I'm no longer going to apologize for anything that my ancestors did. I cannot help that. But hopefully I can, in some way, help stop this from going on.
I woke up to the news that the Labour government are not going to do a full inquiry into it. And it's, for some reason, unbelievably
And this
contentious.
went on for like
I'd
20,
actually say it's even
20
worse,
years, right?
because some of the girls have been brutally murdered, right? And at least five or six of them have been brutally murdered. There's one girl, I think her name was Charlene Downs. I think that was her name. And she was in the court case of the prosecution of her murderers. There was an audio recording played of the murderer laughing about cutting her up and putting her in the kebab meat. And horrific as all of that is, the way in which the establishment, Conservative and Labour,
Conservative and Labour. That's the real shame. One of my friends was talking, we were talking about it today. Y'all, you may think I'm pandering to Republicans. There are plenty of Republicans who are on the side of censorship. Plenty of them. It's a shame. And then, of course, the Conservative Party is not the Republican Party. It's literally called the Conservatives in Britain, but the difference between them and the Labor Party is a name. That's it.
Have everyone, the sort of Westminster Uniparty, and have completely, and the media classes, they've all sort of been complicit in this, what I say is a cover-up of what's been going on.
Well, told me about the last time he visited London.
It was in a neighborhood that I was way, I guess, East London, maybe it was, whatever it was. So I had my security person plus 2 Israeli bodyguards. Okay, so we go to this neighborhood and we're walking around looking for this restaurant. There was some hard looks on the street. That was all I'm going to say, from people. I mean, it was a completely, seemed to be, shall we say, West Asian neighborhood. I don't know. And I had just seen a 60 Minutes report about no-go zones, as some people call them, and other people say they don't exist. Well, they're in the 60 Minutes report. There are Muslim men who are screaming at a woman wearing a miniskirt. And she's saying, "This is England," to your point about this. So, you know, but not in that neighborhood, it's not. And I remember we were walking along, and before we ever got to the restaurant, I remember vividly one of the Israeli bodyguards saying to me the exact words, "We got to get up out of here right now."
We got to get out of here right now. When your bodyguard, who hopefully is a lot better at fighting than you are, says that, yeah, that's not good. Look, if it was just 1 or 2 areas, and maybe these guys are exaggerating. Again, I have been burnt by Winston Marshall being incorrect or quoting incorrect figures once before. But if this is something that's become old hat or whatever, that's a common occurrence. There are neighborhoods in London that you cannot go to because you're the wrong nationality. Please tell me how that's acceptable. Please tell me why that's something we can't talk about. Does that mean we need to go in there with riot gear and clean them all out? I don't know that I'm saying that. I think YouTube would be very unhappy if I said that. But there has to be the ability to talk about it and to talk about solutions about it. I think I'm going to play 1 more minute of this and then move on to the next aspect of the topic, which I think will surprise you. I'm hoping it'll be a pleasant surprise, but it may not be it may not be as cool as I think it is. I also want to point out they're drinking Mountain Valley water, which used to be carried by the company that I used to work for. That is really some good water. really is. All right.
They just felt unsafe here.
I suspect things are worse in London today. Earlier this month, the US State Department stated El Salvador was now safer than the UK and several other European countries. On a lighter note, we discussed the #1 comedy show in America.
All right, that's enough of that, because even though the light topic is awesome, it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So let's see if anyone's chatting. People are being very, oh, no, there's a little bit of talking. Jeff B does see the irony, and I appreciate that you do. Bill Maher on Sharia law is entertaining. Accounting Sheep. Bill is talking about all those well-assimilated Beverly Hills Muslims. Indeed. Like Epstein? Wait, he's not Muslim. Yeah. Like I say, I've been holding back on this topic for a long time, and maybe it's a mistake. But again, if I'm not going to be monetized, I might as well just say what I think. So there it is. Now, Britain has, I know I haven't established that they've fallen or haven't fallen or whatever, but I hope that you see that there is, between this and the streams I've done before about their lack of freedom of speech and some other things, there is at least a danger, maybe an exaggerated danger. Maybe that I don't understand it well enough to, I'm listening to the fear mongers, whatever. But Britain has fallen before. There may be people in the chat that are better at history than me, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that it has fallen, depending on your definition of fallen, since 1066. And I wanted to do a little bit of a talk about that time. And you're probably thinking, Curtis, what in the world? This is a stretch. What has this got to do with anything? You're just being silly because you like to talk about history. Well, that is actually true. So hopefully I don't bore you and run you off. I wanted to talk a little bit about William the Conqueror. Okay, here's his spiffy statue. I wish I could ride a horse like that. William the Conqueror, 1027, 1087, also known as William, Duke of Normandy, led the Norman conquest of England in 1066. He defeated and killed his rival Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings. I miss Hastings. It was my favorite place to buy books. Crowned King William I of England on Christmas Day of 1066, he secured his new realm after 5 years of hard battles against rebels and invaders. Continuing to reign over Normandy, William's policies of land redistribution amongst the Norman elite ensured the history of both England and France would be inseparable in the following centuries. An accomplished diplomat, gifted military commander, ruthless overlord, William died of natural causes, although I've heard different reports than that. But according to these folks on worldhistory.org.com, zip it, he died of natural causes in 1087 at Caen, Normandy, where his tomb still lies. I don't want to get too deep into it because, this actually isn't a post about William. What happened? Sorry, I'm going up. Because I want to talk about the actual Norman conquest of England. It must be said that William was rather lucky in his invasion of England. His enemy, Harold II, was obliged to face another invasion just a few weeks before the conqueror arrived, this one by Harald Hardrada, the king of Norway. Harold III, 1046 to 1066. Do you notice any similarity in the dates? Harold saw Harold at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, near near York on September 25 of 1066, then marched south to face William's army of 5,000 to 8,000 men, including 1,000 to 2,000 cavalry. The two armies, probably similarly sized, clashed at Hastings on October 14. With archers and cavalry against Anglo-Saxon infantry, William was victorious and Harold was killed. They don't mention it here, but the fight was hellacious. It was a knockdown drag out, and there were several times when it looked like the English might win, but the Normans eventually did. When reinforcements arrived from Normandy, William marched on London, first taking such key strongholds as Romney, not to be confused with Dick Romney, Dover, Winchester, and Canterbury. Many of the Anglo-Saxon nobles, and remember, we're supposed to be ashamed of being Anglo-Saxon, and the Archbishop of Canterbury swore allegiance to their new king, who was crowned on Christmas Day, 1066, in Westminster Abbey. Now, William of England and Duke of Normandy, the conqueror had to fight on for 5 more years before England was fully subdued. Scorched earth tactics, building hundreds of motte and bailey castles, imprisonments and mutilations of rebels of such key cities as Exeter and York, the seeing off of too many invasions from Ireland by Harold's sons, the quashing of a Danish rebel force in East Anglia, and the complete redistribution of estates into the hands of loyal Normans, all ensured William did eventually secure his new realm. The church was restructured, with Norman bishops getting the plum jobs. Many important religious centers were moved closer to cities, and new cathedrals were built, such as those at Winchester, York, and Canterbury. So why am I bringing this up? The big reason is, granted, demographics were different then, but the kingdom was conquered by 8,000 men. Men of a similar culture, similar language, the same religion. And it was still a horrible, bloody, terrible, nasty thing, full of torture and killing and whole landscapes being depopulated. Those of you who want to say, well, all of these immigrants, they're just nice, kind people. They wouldn't do anything like that. We've not changed that much in 1,000 years. If you think that a quote-unquote legitimate conquest with a quote-unquote legitimate army was a horrible, bloody thing, what do you think it would be like with just an overthrow by a mob of people? Oh, you're just being a racist. You're just being a fearmongerer. Maybe my mind is going off on a wrong and evil and wicked tangent. But if a Christian king could do these things to a neighboring people, a people from halfway across the world with a totally different religion, totally different language, totally different way of seeing things, do you think they would spare the British any better than William did? Well, they're not trying to do that. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do. I guarantee you that Harold was smart enough not to try to interview William about his intents. Just let me know in the chat. Am I making a bad comparison? Am I making a good comparison? Their culture changed forever. The Anglo-Saxons that we're supposed to be so ashamed of went from being the dominant people, the controlled people, they got to know what happened to the Britons about 500 years before. It was not nice. If you ever want a really interesting read of how the English finally did evolve back into being the same people, not as they had been, you can never go back. But Ivanhoe is actually an incredible read of how the Anglo-Saxon and the Norman finally did come to be at peace. All right. That's all I had prepared. Let's finish up with the chat, and then I'm going to share pointless and partisan things that I've found on Twitter. So if there are any liberals here that I haven't already offended, and I doubt that there are many, because I'm sure that most of this was offensive to a lot of you, and I'm sorry about that. But I hope if you've listened that you consider the things that I'm saying, because I'm not saying them out of hate. Fear, yes. Fear for the British, for my homeland from 200 years ago, yes. But not hate. I don't hate any of these people. I don't hate any of you. Hate's not going to solve this. Martin Luther King taught us that hate cannot be overcome by more hate. It has to be overcome with love. And if that is not true, then you don't need to listen to me, because it's the foundation of what I believe. Let's get caught up on the chat. Hail and well met, Sashi, the man from the future. Greetings, greetings. And Accounting Sheet makes a wonderful point here. I say we give Britain back to the Romans. And you know what? I say let's do it. Let's give it back to the Romans. John, Sashi the Brit started down the path of decay quite some time ago, I believe. You are not wrong. You are not wrong. As much as I still love England and Ireland, yeah, there's definitely plenty of what the heck was that going on out there. Jeff B, hail to the man of the future. Sashi, they lost their way or something. And Gorilla Sensor Thoughts, hail and well met. Damn it, Curtis should have said you were going live when you messaged me. I'm sorry, but I wanted to get done in time for people to go to your panel. Please let me know. You had been doing a tornado stream. Gotcha. That would have been cool. Dang it. I need to do better with social media. Or maybe I just need to join the invading hordes. Whatever. Jeff B, hail Gorilla. Don't get your Speedo in a knot. Gorilla's already ripped it off. Oh, ugh. Sashi, the Japanese were the ones who removed their perception of invincibility in World War II. It happened in my home state. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Brits. Again, I love the Brits. I'm proud of some of the things that they've done. They are not invincible. In fact, before I do there's something else I want to do, and then I'm going to share the pointless and partisan things from Twitter. All right, let me look this up. Cassie, are you okay? Cassie's down at my feet. I'm going to use Brave to look this up. Are there any? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to share something totally pointless that for silly reasons gives me hope. Well, I will if I'm smart enough to share the right thing. I guess I can just copy. No, I can't. Stop in the name of love. Before I break your face. Oh, that YouTube will get me for that. Here we go. There are still ravens at the Tower of London. The tradition of keeping at least 6 ravens at the tower is maintained due to a legend that if the ravens were to leave, the crown in the tower would fall. Currently, there are 7 ravens kept at the tower, one more than the required number to ensure their continued presence. It is a legend, though, that if the ravens leave the Tower of London, Britain will fall. And I wonder if we're near that time. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the pointless and this one's going to be so controversial. So I talked with our friend Whiskey Flats. I'm mentioning it because this is the part where if you're listening, Gary, this is the part I want you to actually watch. This one was hard for me, and I hope it makes the point. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just, again, maybe it's just me being a racist. But let me know what you guys think. It's from Dr. Malouf. Remember, all these countries have their own cultures and traditions. God dang it. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. We'll watch it again because I'm a big jerk. All right. Did you all see that? Did you understand the point of it? Sashi in the chat. Ivanhoe, is that a story about a Russian? Yes. No, it has nothing to do with Russia whatsoever. Sashi, if you see any unfinished messages in the chat, it's probably my neighbor's cat. Tim, hail and well met. Idea for a watch party, the Shoes of the Fisherman. Yes, I do want to do that. In fact, I want to do that fairly soon. Y'all let me know in social media or the chat or whatever, what's a good day and time for you to do a watch party for the Shoes of the Fisherman. I think that would be fantastic. Basically, I know I always gripe about people doing your thinking for you, but when people say, well, you know, the Arabs, they have to cover up their women because that's their culture and that's their this and their that. If this video is true, and maybe it's not, we need to do our due diligence, do some research. It's really not part of their culture. It's part of the extremists' ideology. The actual cultures of these places, I'm not saying that the women were free and everything was perfect and all this, but they dressed beautifully. They didn't have to hide their faces. Look at that. That's gorgeous. This is not a matter of culture. This is a matter of ideologies that are destroying beautiful cultures, ideologies that want to destroy beautiful cultures because they want to enslave. And it doesn't matter if it's Britain, Ireland, United States, Djibouti, India, Pakistan. They want to enslave them all. On a little bit lighter note, this cat accepted his fate. He's Batcat. All right. Here we go. The Irish have risen. If you're a follower from outside Ireland, please share this and show Britain, Europe, and the world that Ireland is fighting back against the mass migrant plantation of Ireland. The fighting Irish are rising. Here they're showing this massive protest, which again may end up not even mattering, but this one's going to maybe offend some people, but are men and the women the same? It's the moment when you realize you misunderstood the fight for gender equality. I don't know if you can see. Let's just say this guy is much stronger than I am. Yeah, we are different. I'm not saying we shouldn't be equal. I'm just saying we are different. Tim has not been to Canterbury Cathedral, nor have I. We're saying the Muslims have poor fashion sense. No, I'm saying the radical Muslims. I'm saying the terrorists. I'm not saying actual. Maybe I shouldn't, but I delineate between the two. Partly because I've read Sufi poetry and I've studied a little bit of history. To me, there's a difference between what Islam was for about 1,000 years and what radical, extremist, terrorist Islam is now and has been for not quite, but maybe roughly a century. It's a very different thing. It's a very modern thing. They talk like its roots go back to the Quran. No. They have more to do with Mustache Man than they have to do with the Quran. But it is funny. Yes, it was a funny thing. Sorry. I'm being maybe too serious here. Women chose the bear. Here, I can't help it. I'm being a little bit sexist today. Again, if I can't be monetized, I might as well just get it out there. California woman found dead in the mountains, victim of the state's first fatal bear attack. Is it funny? No, it's actually not. But I'm sorry. You guys say you would choose the bear over us? Okay, sure. Here we have shocking NASA Google time lapse showing the terrifying rate at which sea levels are rising. Take a look at this. Yep. Terrifying rate of sea rise level things. Here we have another video of the Irish protest, whatever you want to call it. Looks more like a protest here anyway.
We cannot let this regime label us and divide us. That's what they seek. There's no benefit to us warring in the street or clashing in the street. If you look at both sides, right, there's two rallies today. The National Rally for Ireland. It's a rally against.
Let me know if you can hear it. Sometimes YouTube doesn't want to share the noise.
Which has impacted all of us deeply in our soul, and too much so to ignore anymore. We do say no to racism, and we do rise up as a national rally to protest against these policies that have failed us as a country. So it's important for us to unite together as one, hear each other out. We do not need to roar and shout. We need to be calm, speak clearly, speak with compassion. We want to hear your voice, and together our voice will be heard.
I think today went fabulous. We had around 50,000 people, and we want to thank.
According to this guy, that rally had 50,000 people. Let's skip ahead. Let's go ahead and move on. And I'll check out the chat here. County Sheep, I mean, I guess it's not a surprise when you consider that most of their fashion designers get tossed off of rooftops. Yeah. You are seeing the difference between the 1,000 years of Islam from, I would say, about 900 to 1900 AD, and modern. And again, I differentiate the two. Maybe I shouldn't, maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's the legitimate Muslim that believes in the Quran and in love and in peace and in charity. And, you know, okay, yeah, defend your land and what have you, be a warrior that way. But, you know, there's no point in being a freaking terrorist. And what we have with, again, I don't want to paint with a broad brush. The way I've been talking, I can probably need to forgive people who think that I am saying that all of those immigrants in Britain are horrible, bad, evil people. I really doubt that. I don't doubt that 70 to 80% of them are really good, wonderful people. But when you have numbers that large, you have 10 or 20% of bad apples, you have an army. You have a literal army at that point. Sashi, as a person of Indian origin, I have a love-hate relationship with the British. Have you heard Sashi Tharoor speaking in Oxford about the Brit occupation? I have not. I will need to look that up. And the poll is now showing 57% of you are saying British protests are not racist. 29% are saying hell no. And 14% of you are saying yes, it is. And again, I do want to be respectful to those that think that it is. You should have a right to your own opinion, and you know, what have you. And hell, maybe I'm the one that's wrong. Thomas Sowell quotes, really shows how long this has been dragging out. We've been 8 to 9 years away from climate change Armageddon for the past 40 to 50 years. NBC News, 1983.
The federal report today predicted possible catastrophic warming of the Earth by the 1990s with a strong climate change.
What the scientists are telling us, we don't get our act together within the next 8 or 9 years. We're talking about cities all over the world, major cities going underwater.
The federal report.
Yep. Been saying the same thing all ever since. Conor McGregor calls for the people of Ireland to stand against their treacherous the treacherous government. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. I sure hope so. Let's see what he says.
Free today. Good night. Hello, everyone in Ireland. April 26th, 2025. A big day here for our country. A historic month for Ireland since 1916. Over 100 years ago, our brave men and women made the ultimate sacrifice so that we could live free today. So let us remind ourselves why we are here, and also why we are not here. We are not here to build hatred amongst each other. We are not here to sow division. We are here to commemorate the valiant heroes who went before us. We honor their spirit. We honor their fight. And we are here today to shine our light on the failure of Ireland's government and our full disapproval of it. Be respectful. Be proud. Be united. Because together we will be heard. And as one, we will be victorious in our mission. To those leading their march and speaking for the tens of thousands standing behind you, be calm, be clear, speak with dignity. We want to hear your voice. Together we rise. Together we win. God bless us all. God bless Ireland. Go Ireland! Yes, buddy. Shampoo.
I have no idea if he's legit, but that's a great speech, I thought. I cannot help it. I know I'm really risking being a true panderer to Republicans with this next one, but I could not help it. Before I show it, though, I will. Oh, hey, Codus Fact Search. God bless you, sir. I hope you were doing well, and I hope that you've enjoyed some of what you hear, and I hope I haven't made too terrible many mistakes. I'm sure I made at least some, but Codus Fact Search makes a good point. I think it isn't racist to want laws. CODIS Fact Search, Sashi, I'm with you. My family is Highland, Scott, etc. We've all been we've all been fooled by Britain, baby. Yeah, exactly. Accounting sheep. Scientists tell us. The scientists tell us names provided 0. Yes. Sashi, I live in a Muslim country. It starts with the government paying no attention to the suffering of young men. Then they get targeted by extremists, and these young people get influenced. That's a great point. That's a great point. And again, I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush, but you have these people who are, in some cases at least, legitimate. How do I want to put this? They really are trying to get asylum from terrible things, but then they've had terrible things happen. They're in this weird foreign government. They probably, I mean, things are getting better for some of them, but they probably aren't all being given the president of the bank job overnight. Things are tough. And then you've got people like Sashi says who'll come out, Britain has done this. Christians have done that. You know what? The really good answer would be for you to be a terrorist. Go get that knife because you can't have a gun. Get that knife and go kill those children. And that will make a statement. And it doesn't make a statement. It's stupidity. But it doesn't matter. It fuels the agenda of this ideologue. I don't call, again, I make a differentiation. I'm pretty sure you do too, CODIS Fact Search, but let me know. I don't mean to be speaking for you. There's a difference between the legitimate Muslim and this ideology that's been going on for about a century, where we're going to take Islam and we're going to corrupt it into this horrible, oppressive thing of tyranny and oppress people with it. It's not the same thing. To me, anyway. Accounting sheep, Connor's got a good tailor. CODIS Fact Search, Sashi, it starts with believing humans need other humans to tell them how to live. Teach our children to think and decide based on facts. Sadly, most religions disallow actual thinking. Consider, again, this is CODIS Fact Search, consider Catholics crying over their Pope of all people. He was, and again, this is his opinion, not necessarily mine, but he deserves to be heard out. CODIS Fact Search says he's a liar and propped up some really bad people. And I have to think about it before I go half-cocked, either off on agreeing or disagreeing. It's been a long day. Also got nominated as Casa of the Year by the judges. Oh, that's fantastic. I think I was nominated for person most likely to oversleep on a day off. CODIS Fact Search, Sashi isn't wrong. It's everywhere through extremists created by a mix of ignorance and pointed ignorance of rational thought in favor of, well, how do you feel? No, exactly true. Hopefully this doesn't upset you a little, CODIS Fact Search. I'm about to pander a little bit to our Republican friends. The media will never show you this side of President Donald Trump, but this Trump army person will. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you can hear the sound, because in this case, it really is important that you hear what he says. If the point's valid, maybe it's not.
I'm a 9/11 survivor, Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. I love the policy that you have for the military.
Thank you.
I wanted to know if Trump Towers would be part of that veteran job.
Are you talking about here?
Yes.
We are doing some of that actually already. We have it very much involved. Why? What are you looking for? What kind of a position? Come up here. Come here. So smart. Good. Do you mind if I do a job interview right now? We need good people. How are you? So what's your experience in front of the world?
Well, I design, I do wreaths, I do all types of decorations.
And you like this building?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. There's the man. Stand right over here. If we can make a good deal on the salary, she's going to probably have a job. Okay. All right. Good. Have a good time. Thank you.
Now, again, I know that's in front of the cameras. I know that that's politics, but there's to me, it's a little heartwarming. Sashi, get people angry enough they lose the ability for rational thought. Indeed, that's exactly what's been going on. It will be easy to manipulate them from now on. Accounting sheet planted question and poundering, but still voted for. Yeah. All right. So I think I already played this one. I think. Okay, this is really going to make some people angry. Gay people rely on straight people to produce more gay people. Right? It doesn't mean we should be mean to them or bad to them or that they shouldn't have their rights. Yeah, it's kind of true. I know Roger Stone is very much of a controversial person, but I bookmarked this because I would like to know if anyone knows anything about it. Once I reported that one of the largest Indian casinos in Oklahoma, my home state, was running an illegal billion-dollar skimming operation. They quietly changed the software on their Class 2 games, trying to cover their tracks. It won't work. The DOJ knows. The Interior Department knows. At least one congressman is in on the skim. The big bust is coming. Do any of you know anything about that? Because that sounds so salacious. I kind of wish Moira Kitty were in here. She might know something about it. Elon Musk, interesting. Grok correctly acknowledges affirmative action as being racist, while ChatGPT does not. See? Grok says yes. ChatGPT says no. Internet Hall of Fame. In 2019, I wrote my phone number on a Jenga piece at a hostel in Iceland. Today, I received this photo. I think that's just so cool. I sent him a photo. We're off. Ireland belongs to the... All right, enough of the bagpipes. Here's more. Thousands of Irish patriots are gathering in Dublin to stand with McGregor against massive migration. I know. YouTube's going to hate this. I'm not saying I'm calling for one. I'm just reporting that there are people in Ireland who want a revolution. Ireland belongs to the Irish. I'm going to skip this one. CNN behind. Oh, this was Babylon Bee. Rob Schneider shared it. CNN behind closed doors. The Pope is still focused, sharp, and energetic as ever. Gary M., keep in mind, Democrats voted to fine American citizens for not buying insurance, then conspired to give it to illegal aliens for free. Here we have more of the Irish uprising, tens of thousands of citizens peacefully marching against mass immigration. I think most of us right-wingers will appreciate this one. It's that simple. Gun-free zone, concealed carry zone, deterring mass shooters. Darby O'Gill, this country will never be saved by politicians, but by good people that have had enough. There's Conor McGregor again. He's trying to be president of Ireland. So, you know, I don't want to get too warm and fuzzy about it. Politicians are, you know, what they are. Joel Fisher, there's no such photo of Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. Just putting that out there. Thomas Sowell quotes, I know I am making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I thinking of unaliving myself. I have made this known to my therapist and general practitioner. If something happens to me in the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. This is Virginia Guiffer. She was going to testify about the Epstein Island and ended up run over by a bus. And then when she survived that, she unalived herself, coincidentally enough. This is not the Irish protests, but I really liked it. I'm going to shut down the noise, though. I think CODIS Fact Search, you will really appreciate this one.
I am lost.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong. Again, I do not want people with different gender identities oppressed. I don't want their rights taken away. But sometimes when they're just disrespectful and rude, I almost don't care that they lose their rights. Just putting that out there. CODIS Fact Search is always going to be planted. Donald Trump is a master of that. However, historically, he has been quite supportive of the things he is currently supporting. CODIS Fact Search, like my dad has said, he's a full-on Ozark hill rod. There's never a reason to hate somebody because of what they do behind the doors. The only reason you hate somebody is for what they do to you. Agreed. I know nothing about the casino situation. I'm not that type of Indian. I'm the original recipe. Right on. Extra crispy. CODIS Fact Search is laughing. Personally, casinos pander devices. I don't feel bad for addicts getting fooked. CODIS Fact Search Ireland. When the bombs go off and alcohol is real. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Amy Klobacher, this is not normal. The administration's arrest of a sitting judge is a drastic move that threatens the rule of law. While we don't have all the details, this is a grave step and undermines our systems of checks and balances. The response from Mike Benz, who is the person that convinced me that the election was in fact stolen. You've arrested a U.S. president, his lawyers, his accountants, and even his valet, but judges are above the law. Amy? Talk to the first Neuralink recipient with ALS. I won't play the whole thing, but...
Cloned by AI from recordings before I lost my voice. I want to explain how Neuralink has impacted my life and give you an overview of how it works. I have ALS, a really weird disease that kills the motor neurons that control my muscles, but not affecting my mind. My experience has been pretty interesting, starting with a shoulder injury that would not heal and ending up with my current status. I cannot move anything but my eyes, and I am totally reliant on a ventilator to keep me alive and breathing. My wife, Tiffany, is the best caregiver I could ever imagine. She does everything for me, with only our kids and friends and family to help. She is the key to making Neuralink work. I will stop talking about her because she doesn't like the attention.
Anyway, he's now able to talk again because of Neuralink. Here we have Donald Trump Jr. Are you trying to inspire another unaliving attempt on my dad? 2 wasn't enough for you. Let's see what Pritzker is saying.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
Okay, so let me know what you think. Is he trying to inspire that or not? But I know Troy Pacelli's answer. Even if he's not, he's a state executive calling for civil unrest in direct violation of his job description. And his wife shared this one. I know you're fine, totally fine, absolutely fine. But just in case you're a little not fine, I'm here. Fletcher Williams, I suck at games, shared a Japanese depiction of the Virgin Mary and young Jesus Christ hand-painted on cloth. There really was a fairly strong Christian movement before the shogunate, even before that, honestly. But basically they were slaughtered almost to a person. And the movie Silence deals with that a little bit. This is Dick Van Dyke, legendary actor. At 30, I used to exercise to look good. At the age of 50, to be fit. At 70, not to be padded in a bed. At 80, to be able to live without assistance. Now at 99, I do it out of pure defiance. I love that. Sashi says, I do admire the Brits for their steadfast devotion to their cuisine. They took over all those places with excellent food and never were led astray. Right on. Friendly reminder. Remember a few years ago when 2 undercover journalists exposed that Planned Parenthood was selling aborted baby body parts, which is a felony, and the California Attorney General prosecuted the journalists and never did anything against Planned Parenthood? That Attorney General was Kamala Harris. Climate change has always been a hoax. I don't know about that, but let's look at this. 1960s, oil gone in 10 years. 1970s, another ice age in 10 years. 1980s, acid rain will destroy all crops in 10 years. 1990s, the ozone layer will be gone in 10 years. In 2000, ice caps will be gone in 10 years. None of that happened, but all of it resulted in more taxes. Rob Schneider shared this. The experts told us Joe was fine. The experts told us to take the vax. The experts told us the laptop was fake. The experts told us the border is secure. The experts told us inflation is transitory. The experts told us 2020 was the most legitimate and secure election in history. Remember who the propagandists are. Never trust any of them again. I love this. A classical take on a classical meme. Yeah, checking out the Medusa might not be conducive to your health. Rothmus, the only sexual knowledge a 3rd grade boy needs to know is that girls have cooties. I'll skip this one. Anyway, great big protests. As we demonstrated, the legacy media says nothing. Juanita Broderick, Muslims, your country, the country they just ruined. That might be a little unfair, but I thought it was funny. The Trump administration just approved a $1.4 billion to rebuild homes in Hurricane Helene victims in western North Carolina, and not a single mainstream media news outlet wrote a single story about it. Let's see what this outlet says.
The state to sign the grant and begin issuing the money. The administration is approving more than $1 billion in federal funding to help rebuild in western North Carolina. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is giving the grant to help rebuild homes in the region following Hurricane Helene. The governor's office says this kind of grant is typically focused on long-term rebuilding plans rather than immediate needs for shelter. Officials say the next steps for the state is to be given financial control of the funds from the HUD department, allowing the state to sign the grant and begin issuing the money.
Having been called a liar by Anthony Fauci for saying that not one of the 72 vaccines mandated for children has ever been safely tested, RFK Jr. sued Fauci. After a year of stonewalling, Fauci's lawyers admitted that RFK Jr. had been right all along. There's no downstream liability. There's no front-end safety test. There's no marketing and advertising costs because the federal government is ordering 78 million school kids to take that vaccine every year. What better product could you have? There was a gold rush to add all of these new vaccines to the schedule because if you get into that schedule, it's $1 billion a year for your company. So we got all these new shots, 72 shots, 16 vaccines. That year in 1989, we saw an explosion in chronic disease in American children: ADHD, sleep disorders, language delays, ASD, autism, Tourette's syndrome, tics, narcolepsy. Autism went from 1 in 10,000 in my generation to 1 in every 34 kids today. Another spiffy thing about Fauci.
We're talking about probably the most horrible scandal and scam ever perpetrated, not only in the name of science, but in humanity and in all history. The great lie of Hitler. It's amazing. I think he would envy the job being done by members of the National Institutes of Health and even the media, especially in this country. And I will put the lie to the individuals of the NIH, particularly Gallo and Fauci and Hazeltine and Essex, and the rest of these scoundrels of the worst order. Criminals guilty of genocide, without a doubt. I invite them to take me to court. I wish Burroughs Wellcome would take me to court because they have been putting out a killer drug knowingly.
That was before all the COVID stuff. That was about the scandal with AIDS. I need to learn more about it because who knows? Maybe I'm being completely unfair, but there was controversy beforehand and we just completely forgot about it. Absolute lizards, deep state, big pharma, American healthcare system. Okay, so Ben Sewell, not to be confused with Soul, since 1986, pharma has not been liable for vaccine injury or death. In 1962, a child got 5 doses. In 1983, so you're talking in my day, there's about 24 doses. By 2025, you have 94 doses before age 18. Again, I'm not anti-vax, but do we really need 94 doses of different vaccines by the time someone's 18? And is it bad and wrong to question that? I'm not saying you can't give your kid 94 doses. I think we probably gave our child 20 or 30 doses because the doctor told us to. And he ended up with autism. Maybe it had nothing to do with the vaccine, but am I a bad person for saying maybe we could do a study? Maybe we could do a test? I don't know. I'll skip that one. 10 days ago said the worst April for the stock market since the Great Depression. Fast forward to today, the NASDAQ is up on the month of April. Haven't seen a story that says stock market has the biggest bounce back ever. Nope, and you won't. I love this one. Once you follow a single ball, it blows your mind. These balls, they're all moving in a straight line. There is no circle. It's just the design. Isn't that awesome? I'll skip that one. Skip that one. This is exactly why the mainstream media is at an all-time low, why so many people hate Trump without even knowing why. They literally crop the photo to push a false narrative and smear him. They're not reporting, they're manipulating.
This here is a perfect example of what the media does to get people to hate Trump. The Vatican asked Pope Francis' funeral attendees to wear all black. Trump wore a blue suit. So that's what the media says, and this is the image they show you, right? Now here's a picture with more context, and you can see how many other people were dressed. I'm zooming in a little bit more so you can see it. There's a lot more blue than what the media was trying to lead people to believe. Again, this is the image they showed us, and this was the reality. And this is a perfect example of why the trust in the traditional media is at an all-time low. Like, they had to zoom in and get the perfect situation to push their narrative. And again, it's not about being intellectually honest or even fair. It's about pushing a narrative. And this is a perfect example of that. And it's beautiful to see the American people picking up on that and not trusting these traditional media outlets. Clearly, he was not the only person wearing blue there, but the media wants you to believe something else.
A farmer trying to save his neighbor's field from fire in Weld County, Colorado. I won't play the whole thing, but look at this farmer. He's just trying to get that get that field, to get that firewall put up for him. More of the Irish protests. By the way, bagpipes are an Irish invention. The Irish Scotty tribe brought them to Scotland from about 480. I'm not really sure if that's accurate, but it sounds cool. So, Canadian man has caught poll workers bringing boxes of unsealed ballots home with them. Left are stealing the election again. And I think this is the last one I'm going to show. Father who makes his daughter happy, winds her up, and now she's the mechanical ballerina. All right. All right, that is it. I am going to call it a stream. Let's see what the poll says. Are the British protests against immigration racist? Well, our incredibly scientific, completely accurate polling system says 59% of you think that no, it was not. 29% of you say hell no, it was not. And 12% of you say that yes, it was. And again, to the ones that disagree, you have the right to believe that. I may not have made the most convincing argument in the world. Let's follow up on chat. Malaysia has a number of Christian Chinese that moved from China to escape the Boxer Rebellion. Jeff B., I'm okay with bangers and mash. Beans on toast, though. All right, I have to start cooking for lunch. See you guys. Jeff B. East Company made their money on spices. Think they sold mostly to the French, though. Be well, Sashi and Codis Fact Search. No, we don't. And it's okay if we don't want it, period. It's called freedom. Heck yes. Freedom! All right, let's call it a stream. There are other streams to go to. Troy Pacelli is playing a watch party of Snow White, and Gorilla's Censored Thoughts is doing a watch party, I think. He's probably doing it right now, actually. Or will be soon. Of the Canadian election. Let's go ahead and shut that down. I will thank and promote everybody. Connie Cleary, you have been promoted to Lieutenant General. Oh, wait, no. Oh, my overpaid assistant is telling me that's not the context of the word promoted in this case. Hail and well met, Connie Cleary, faithful bird woman of YouTube, and one of the best wrenches there are, keeping the trolls and the perverts away while everyone else streams till the break of day. I don't know. I thought I had something. Anyway, please check out her channel, especially her second channel, Fluff Chick Productions. Her videos will put a smile on your face without being perverted, because you will smile at the cute little birds doing cute little things and talking and saying stuff, and there's really lovely music accompanying it. So please check out her creations. She also has some crafty videos, and on Wednesday and Fridays, she often hosts a party of people who watch a movie with her, and she almost always picks a really awesome, wonderful movie. I say almost because one time, just once, and I will not hold it over her head because everybody does something, but almost every movie she's presented has just been so fun. Ahoy, accounting sheep. I'm going to promote you to captain. You're going to get your own ship. Please check out Accounting Sheep. He has this wonderful channel with incredible music, parody type music. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, go to his place and get some laughs from parody music. Jeff B, hail and well met. Thank you for showing up and for the kind comment. D Penzak, thank you for showing up and for the kind comment. Realway Nation Gaming Clips, thank you for showing up and for the comment. And people, please check out Realway Nation Gaming Clips. He's got some really fun gaming clips that are cool. Who else have I got? Sci-Fi Sith Dan. He's got those sci-fi fan films. Go check him out. He also is very often on streams with Mikey Susie 4 and Gorilla's Censored Thoughts and Larry at Be Yourself Adventures, PvP. And I'm forgetting some people. I hate getting old. Sucks. Charlotte Nightstar the Werewolf. Oh, please check out her channel as well. She's got everything. She's got music. She's got watch parties. She's got novel type stuff. She's got interviews. Go check her out. She's an amazing creator, wonderful human being. I'm scrolling. Bill is talking about all those well-assimilated Beverly Hills Muslims. It should be a movie. Beverly Hills Muslim. Sashi, hail and well met the man from the future who's now cooking his lunch. Thank you very much for showing up and for sharing those wonderful recipes on Mrs. Dadman Walkings. Boom-be-doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. Hail and well met Tim, the sorcerer that some call Tim, and I do need to find out when would be a good time for people to watch The Shoes of the Fisherman. Oh, and Tim has been to the Canterbury Cathedral. I think I misread that earlier, as that he had not been to the Canterbury Cathedral. Codus Fact Search, another wonderful creator. Check out his channel. It is climbing like gangbusters because, unlike other people, he keeps the controversial stuff off of his channel, and also he actually understands algorithms. On a good day, I can spell it. Check him out. Wonderful human being. One of the most knowledgeable of history that I know, but he keeps it out of his channel because controversy. YouTube does not like controversy. We must all think the same way. We must all think the same way. We must all vote the same way. We must all vote and vote the same way. Alrighty. And Resolute Germ, another stream YouTube does notify me about. Oh, I'm so sorry. To be fair, I think I've set it up about a half hour, an hour before I got it going. So, but thank you very much. This wonderful gentleman let me be a guest host or whatever you want to call it on a cartoon watch party of Feast of the North Star. So fun. Check out Resolute Germ's channel. You will be glad you did. So probably I need to come up with a new spiel, but until I do, it's been said that life is pain, and anybody trying to tell you otherwise is trying to sell you something. And it's true, I am trying to sell you something. As Codus Fact Search said earlier, I'm trying to sell you on the idea that you don't have to be told how to live your life by big corporations or big government. You're smart enough, you're wise enough to run your own life. And lastly of all, I want you to know, you're not going mad. You're going sane in a world gone mad. Spoon! Thank you all. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see some, if not all of you, at either Troy Pacelli's stream or at Gorilla's Censored Thoughts stream. Have a wonderful evening.